A major winter storm is ongoing this morning, and we're here to give you one last detailed update on this system. Just because it is a now thing, chances are if you were expecting impact from this system, you're getting them already at the time of you tuning into this video. But I did just want to get you guys one more video out on it. I thought about not even making a video this morning because my area is actually being impacted by some winter weather here in central South Carolina. But here we are, we're going to do it after we cover this system one last time. I do want to have a segment towards the end speaking on our next winter weather potential. And I really think this is going to be for areas of the south and then maybe up the east coastline. And I think that this has legs. Meaning, I think that the possibility and the pattern definitely supports what I'm going to talk about. So stay tuned for that. If you're interested, and after this video, we're pretty much going to lock into that moving forward. My name is Mitch. Good Sunday morning. I hope you guys are doing well, staying warm, staying safe. Hopefully your power's on. Subscribe if you haven't. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So it's a huge system, guys. I mean, it's still ongoing. We got one last push of moisture going towards going through areas of Texas, a burst of snow. I mean, even some moisture still needs to come through Texas and run to this cold Arctic air that's still back here in New Mexico. But this area in pink, this is either a mixture of freezing rain or sleet. One area that is wild to me, and this is a little bit more local, a little bit more home to me, is the Carolinas and Northeast Georgia. You're waking up to a bit of a surprise, and I wouldn't call it a surprise. I know I've been mentioning on social media a lot, even on here on YouTube, when we really kind of zoomed into the upstate of South Carolina, Piedmont and North Carolina, Northeast Georgia. I said, hey, if you woke up this morning and the main precipitation type was sleet, then I think you're going to escape the worst of the ice storm. And that is what we're waking up to now. It doesn't mean it's not going to get really bad in these areas today, but it's actually still snowing. It is snowing in certain areas. In the Piedmont, North Carolina, the upstate of South Carolina, I know in my neck of the woods, I'm getting like a freezing drizzle at like 23 degrees. The cold air damming ongoing across the Carolinas and Northeast Georgia is just insane. It's kind of just a micro area of this storm that, from a weather nerd's perspective, is just, you just want to geek out about it, right? But anyways, I know not everybody's weather nerd, so we'll calm down a little bit. But up here, it's just good old-fashioned snow. Big thumping of snow moving across the mid-Atlantic into the Northeast later today. And this is just a huge storm system. Now, let's go over the timing of this, and we'll kind of cruise through this pretty fast. This is the latest NAM, and this is starting off around 7 o'clock this morning, which is pretty much right now across Texas. And I wouldn't get hung up on the precipitation type here, but the blue is snow. The orange is sleet, but this is a now thing across this area. Whatever's falling is falling. But as we start to move kind of into this afternoon, I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of just get another dusting of snow on top of areas here in northern Texas, Oklahoma. You kind of see this thin area of blue. This is like 8 o'clock tonight. So as the main push of moisture moves away, do not be surprised one bit if we have just some light snow flying around, as just that very cold Arctic air mass likes to squeeze out every available area of moisture in the atmosphere. In this case, it'll be in the form of snow. So dusting of snow, I think, is very possible as this pulls away. But we take a look at the southeast. The warm nose is ongoing right now. You can see it on radar. It's forecasted very well. I mean, it's 50 degrees all the way up into almost northern sections of Alabama, and we've switched to rain in like the mid to upper 30s, even maybe some low 40s into the eastern areas of Tennessee. So it was forecasted well. But as you move forward, you kind of see this area right here in the Carolinas where you're hanging on to winter weather. Well, it's because you're deep into the 20s. You're even into the upper to mid-teens in areas of the upstate of South Carolina and into North Carolina, points northeast. So anything falling from the sky, you might wake up and, you're in certain areas like of central South Carolina. Well, this is a dud, but you don't fully go outside and figure out that there's a fine mist and drizzle falling and it's literally freezing on everything. So it's kind of just a under the radar, dangerous winter weather type that you got to watch out for. The main interesting thing about this later on today is when the main push of the system moves in, I think we're going to have a line of thunderstorms that moves through the southeast. And for areas that remain below freezing, I literally think that there's the possibility that we are going to get thunder ice later, like freezing rain, maybe even sleet falling with a convective element to it, meaning, like I said, we're going to get a thunderstorm of sleet or freezing rain that moves through this area, and then the system finally exits, and I think we'll be hanging on to some lingering snow showers and snow flurries across the Tennessee Valley, Mid-South, and against the Apps. And just a better, more convective look at this from the NAM. This is starting off, let's get the timing up here. This is around midday today, lunchtime. We continue just to get freezing rain, sleet. But then you see this area down here in the yellow. I mean, there's a tornado threat down deep south areas of Alabama, stuff like that. And that is because of this convective line right here. But this kind of line of thunderstorms is actually going to cruise in a very cold air that's still in place. So this is 3, 4, 5 o'clock. And then you get one last blast of just heavy moisture. And for areas that are still hanging below freezing by this evening, this is going to be a thunderstorm of freezing rain and sleet, more than likely. I think it'll be more so freezing rain at this point. But man, what a wild look. Quite literally a thunderstorm, a line of thunderstorms cruising into very cold air, still hanging on for dear life. And then I think we're going to get some backside snow across this region. Now, we'll take a closer look at the deep south here. And I always like the HRRR model better when looking at severe weather, in my opinion. But as you can tell, there is going to be a line of storms. And I think we can have some supercells kind of discrete here in southern areas of Alabama today. So please be aware of this. I mean, it's crazy. You got an ice storm right up the road. This line of storms moving through. This is midday today. This is getting into this afternoon. It's cruising across the panhandle of Florida. And if you do look at the updraft Felicity swath for this area, man, I haven't done severe weather stuff in so long that I got to figure out where it is. There it is. And you look at the updraft Felicity swath, you can see even in southwest Georgia, there is a signal for rotating thunderstorms. And I mean, you even look like a little bit further east. Like, I'm doing a lot of this on the fly, guys. And look at these rotating thunderstorms in the southern half of Georgia. We could literally have a tornado down here today. When just up the road, it's below freezing in Atlanta. So, and just taking a look at how impressive this cold air damming is. For example, you're in the low 30s and it's just raining. And look at the 40s showing up in the Cumberland Plateau or just kind of outside of it. But then look at this kind of tongue of very cold air. Like I said, it is 23.5 degrees here in Columbia, South Carolina. The only thing that is preventing just a major winter storm from Augusta to Columbia to Fayetteville right now, the Florence, is lack of moisture. Like, for example, you look at the radar right here, a huge chunk of moisture is going right towards the upstate. And then you kind of get into the Midlands of South Carolina, you get into the Sandhills of North Carolina, and you just don't have as much moisture. And honestly, models handled that very well. But the Northeast here, big area of moisture coming in. This is just going to be all frozen precipitation. Now, the NAM does like the idea of you guys switching and just get old-fashioned rain across the Delmarva. We'll see if that happens. I think we'll get a sleet fest later tonight across the coastal areas of southern New England, but the blue is all snow, and then it heads on out. But the last little bit as far as the forecast amounts, this is a now thing, okay? So some of this is maybe already added up, but this is predicted freezing rain totals between now and the rest of the storm. You're still just adding up, caking up that freezing rain in this area. This has always been an area that, was kind of in the war zone for freezing rain. And then we head up to Arkansas, another few inches of snow as possible. This is a now thing, like I said, in northern areas of Arkansas, and this is the rest. And then how much ice could you expect? Another couple of tenths of an inch of freezing rain to maybe even 2 tenths once you get closer to the Mississippi River here. So. And then we take a look at Missouri. This is how much additional snow you could get. I think some of this is probably already fell, but still snowing like crazy in these areas. And let me know what your final tallies are across Missouri. And then we look at Illinois, Indiana. This is how much additional snow is on the way. Pause the screen if I'm moving too fast. I'm not going to say a bunch of names, but Indianapolis could get another 6 to 8 inches of snow from this. And then we look at Ohio. This storm still has a good ways to go the further east you go. And look, I mean, I'm going for another foot of snow in some of these areas. It's already started to add up in some of these areas of Ohio. But then we drop it back to the south. This is Kentucky. This is an ongoing event right now. Kind of Kentucky and Tennessee. Northern areas, are certainly going to try to hang on to sleet and snow for dear life, but it's really the freezing rain in this area. I think I saw a report in Nashville a few hours ago that they had already picked up a half an inch of freezing rain. So maybe another quarter to a half an inch on the way. Because remember, this kind of starts from earlier this morning. So some of this has already fell. But you can see the gap in Tennessee where you've warned above freezing, which is good news. But a lot of freezing rain still ongoing across Kentucky and Tennessee this morning. And I don't think this could be wrong in my opinion. But this is northwest South Carolina. Listen, I saw somebody out of the Clemson area where you're getting slammed with sleet right now across the upstate of South Carolina. And I think we could end up with a couple inches of sleet with not as much freezing rain. But the forecast freezing rain totals over the next the rest of the event. I mean, when you do switch to freezing rain across this area, it could add up to a quarter to a half an inch pretty fast. Columbia, they've kind of dropped the totals, and I just really think that's because of the lack of moisture. It has nothing to do with cold air. The axis of the moisture is really riding north of Columbia and Augusta, Florence. So if you think nothing is happening, actually, there's a drizzle outside across this 20 corridor, Interstate 20 corridor, and all that is freezing on contact. And sometimes if you get a heavy enough kind of mist drizzle, it adds up faster than a moderate to heavy freezing rain. But, you get into North Carolina, Virginia, big slug of moisture going right through North Carolina right now, so we could get a couple inches of snow and sleet because it is still snowing out there in some certain areas. And then we get into Virginia, and, of course, it's going to be more so the snow and the sleet. But then we look at the freezing rain, guys, and, yeah, a lot of freezing rain still on the way for these areas. And I do want to show you max wind gust throughout the next 24 hours. And, I mean, there's going to be some breezy conditions. 10, 20 mile per hour wind gusts are possible, especially with this line of whatever it's going to be that's going to move through. And then we head on up to West Virginia. This is the additional totals expected. And then we look at the ice in this area. Still got freezing rain. It could be freezing rain already in certain areas up here. I didn't look at the reports for the entire country when I started this video. I almost thought about not even making a video this morning, but I was like, hey, let's go in and pump out one last video on this system. But this system's really moving into this area right now. This is the Mid-Atlantic. A good 8 to 12 inches is a good bet across most of this region. The further south you get, the less you get. But some freezing rain is going to be possible in this region too. You're going to get maybe a tenth of an inch of freezing rain kind of up that Interstate 95 corridor. Once you get closer to like old Short Pump down here in Fredericksburg, that name of that town always trips me out. And that's where you can get over 0.2 of an inch of freezing rain. And then you head on up here to the New York City, Boston corridor. This is going to be a 10 to as much as a 24-inch event. Boston is now going for 2 feet of snow. This is uptrended for you guys. This is turning into by far your biggest event of the winter. And I think this is going to end up being one of your biggest winter storms over the last few years in Boston. So here it comes. I mean, winter is just raging, guys. And then you look at PA. This is how much you're expecting in this region. And listen, I will go back to this. I think some sleet is going to mix in, no doubt, in kind of this area right into here. But this is PA. A little bit of freezing rain sleet. It's going to mix in here on the southern fringe of the state. And then this is the rest of New England. Hey, I want to thank y'all for allowing me to forecast this for you guys and just go over it, figure it out over the last week. And this is probably the last detailed update on it that we have. But I do want to kind of wrap this up with temperatures. This is forecast low temperatures for tomorrow morning. Just awfully cold temperatures. So if you do lose power, guys, it's not going to be good. So hopefully the power outages underachieve in a good way. So it's forecast low temperatures for Tuesday morning, single digits all the way down to the deep south. And then things slowly moderate through the week, but it's still going to be a bitterly cold week, guys. And this is the temperatures tomorrow morning across the eastern U.S. There's going to be a big-time refreeze across the Mid-South. The Southeast, you kind of had that warming. It actually might stay slightly above freezing in certain areas of the Southeast overnight. But then you start to move into Tuesday morning, and then this is where any kind of lingering moisture still on the ground refreezes. Some single digits are going to dip pretty far south. And you have this kind of corridor of sub-zero temperatures going for -4 in Memphis Tuesday morning. And then it moderates a little bit, but still just going to be, it's going to be a very cold week coming up, guys. I'm telling you, extremely cold week coming up. and there's even going to be some winter weather potential for areas of the south, in my opinion. So let's go on and dive into that. Okay, and I'm gonna actually look at the latest 06Z run, and that stinks. Never mind, we can't because we don't have the entirety of it. But we're gonna start off Friday. First off, you can see Friday morning. This is gonna be, and listen, we're gonna dive into the kind of the nerding out stuff of this once we move past the storm we're dealing with right now. We're gonna talk about energy in the atmosphere, and I'm not just gonna jump on here and show you flashy model runs. Okay, but you can see some dots connecting. Moisture's down here to the south, some cold air trying to bog on top of it. And if you do look at the final frame, it shows some blue as far south as the Bayou of Louisiana. And then we switch to the southeast. This is Saturday. It's snowing in the northern Gulf and the panhandle of Florida. And this thing rides up, and it's snowing all the way down to Perry, Florida. It's snowing along the Carolina-Georgia coastline. And it's snowing hard as we're getting into next Sunday morning, a week from today, February 1st. But it doesn't quite make the turn. Now listen, this is one model run. You don't look at this and make a grand conclusion and say, we're going to miss again, this, that, and the other. Listen, I'm going to be real with you. I don't want to hear all of that. I'm speaking from somebody that used to be like that, and I can relate to it. You don't look at this and you make a grand conclusion off of it. The pattern is there, and I'm going to sit here and tell you, I want this to look like this till at least Thursday. Okay, if you trend this too far to the north, it's going to end up like this last system that we're dealing with right now. You want to keep this suppressed, bogged down in the Gulf as long as possible. And then the last 48 hours, if you're a snow fan for the south and you just want a good old-fashioned snowstorm and bump all that ice, then you want this to creep north. Okay, what does the GFS say? GFS has some moisture there, but it's just a different evolution. It doesn't get it going. There's kind of a lag, and you look at the southeast, and there's just kind of a slow ejection of the energy here, and it doesn't really do anything. So, it's a no-go for that. And then you look at the latest Euro AI. I hadn't even looked at this one yet. So there's the moisture bubbling up Friday morning. It doesn't really get to Texas. It kind of connects further east. And then we look at the southeast. What's it going to show for us here? It's a miss. But then it kind of drops. That looks weird. Then it kind of drops this aggressive looking clipper behind it and tries to connect with the low pressure. So a different evolution. But the key thing is you got a lot of moisture off the coast of the Gulf, off the coast of the Gulf coastline in the southeast. And then you have this weird evolution where it drops some northern stream here. And let's look at the temperatures with this. And yeah, I mean, that's some type of winter weather. I don't know what it is. So, I mean, I would have to kind of super analyze the surface here. But I mean, yeah, that drops a couple inches of snow all the way down to South Carolina. It's a weirder look though. And then you look at the GFS AI, same thing, drops some moisture down into the Gulf. You look at the southeast, how close is this? Ooh-wee, you got a lot of moisture off the coastline, and it's plenty cold enough across the southeast. Okay, keep this right there. If, as a snow fan that wants a snowstorm, keep it right there for as long as possible. And this is the thing. This is key. You look at ensemble guidance. The Euro Ensemble. I posted this on Facebook yesterday, and some of you guys let me have it. Ooh, y'all are talking some junk. And listen, I can read right through people. I just can't. And I know exactly what people are thinking, because I know exactly how people view the weather. They want a yes or no answer. Most people aren't passionate about the weather, so they don't give a rip about the nitty-gritty details of it. And I get it. There's certain things that if someone came up to me that they were passionate about and I didn't care too much about, and you started geeking out with me, my eyes would probably get glazed over. I look like a deer in the headlights, and I'm like, dude, when are you going to stop talking? And I know that's how most people view the weather. Just, come on here. And I know this because sometimes in the comments I'll say, dude, it'll say something like, why are you talking 30 to 40 minutes on the weather? It should just be a couple minutes long. Well, here's the thing that kind of clashes up against that. Most people want a forecast that's 1 or 2 minutes long. The 1 or 2 minutes that you want us to just give you is going to be just pretty much a yes or no answer and a % chance. And when we get it wrong because we didn't have enough time to provide context and everything to explain it, you just immediately come on back and say the good old corny corn on the cob joke that a lot of people like to say, well, being a meteorologist is the only job that you can get paid to be wrong. It's like, man, that is just corny, guys. And people say that like they made it up, like it's original that they came up with. That's about corny as all get out, guys. That's like saying somebody that wears glasses, calling them four eyes. I mean, y'all got to be a little bit more creative than that. So I'm done with my kind of soap spill there, right? My drama spill. Let's get back to seriousness here. This is the Euro Ensemble, one of the best things you can look at in the longer range, and it has a couple inch mean here across areas of the southeast and upper southeast and mid-Atlantic. Do not look at this and tell your brother's uncle's pet, billy goat, that it's going to snow an inch and 6/10 in Columbia, South Carolina next Sunday. That if you look at this and that's exactly the way you view it, then you're doing it wrong. This is a 51-member ensemble mean, okay, and it kind of puts it all together, creates an average, and this is the number we get. Now, some might argue, what's the point of even showing it then? Because I like talking about weather. I'm not going to wait until 24 hours out before the storm and say, okay, now let's dive into it. Gives nobody time to prepare, and I like talking about weather. It's literally a YouTube channel based off the weather. So I'm done. All right, and this is the Euro AI Ensemble, and it looks very similar to the EPS, the Euro Ensemble. A solid signal for something. You're not going to get those flashy members, those flashy individual model runs every time. And I hadn't even looked at the GFS Ensemble. It normally follows its operational run, but you can see it kind of drops off along the Gulf coastline. There's a signal in Texas, and then it kind of increases across the Carolinas. So this is going to be a fun week of watching this. And for some people that might think, hey, you're just showing this for clicks and stuff. Well, this is literally the winter weather outlook from the National Weather Service, and they're already honking the horn at this for Sunday. This is for February 1st. Then that green area, as of right now, this is a bit automated too, I would say, but it's still legit. In the green area, you have a 10 to 30% chance to see a 1/4 inch liquid equivalent of snow and sleet for Saturday morning into Sunday morning of next weekend. So they already see what we see, what we're talking about. So, hey, that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless. Stay safe today. I appreciate y'all trusting me to cover this storm. Had a lot of growth with the channel. The videos never really popped off that much. I don't know. YouTube just does not really push my videos for whatever reason. I'm not quite sure why. And I know that because when I look at my subscriber count through this kind of period of growth, it didn't really grow a ton. So that means that we didn't bring in a whole lot of new people. And YouTube is very analytic driven. So it will tell you kind of why your video is doing good. And it said because more subscribers were tuning in. So I appreciate my subscribers for tuning in. Thank y'all so much. And welcome to any new people that managed to, see my video on kind of your feed or whatever it may be. Not sure why YouTube doesn't really push these out that much. But the important thing is that you're getting good information. I hope you are. I hope you've enjoyed the content, and we'll try to figure out this next system going forward. God bless all y'all. Be safe, stay warm, and we'll talk again this evening.